Bob, thanks for joining us. And you have so much background and knowledge with what is going on right now in the United States and with what you've had to deal with through the course of your coaching career as well.
Yes, I've had many experiences, and certainly when I look around the country over the last week, see the protests, like many people right now. I'm outraged. I'm sad. I'm committed. We must find a way to push for real change. We can't have uh, a just society where we have the level of racial inequality that we see. What happened to George Floyd? That's a week ago, Memorial Day, and we see the response, and it's not good enough just that people show up on the streets. That's a start, but eventually we've got to make sure that enough people see it the same way and have a real belief that this is what we want our country to be. And when it comes to voting, they can think about not only what's good for them, but what's good for everybody, what's good for people of different color. And so those are the things on my mind. So I know you said 30 minutes of soccer. Now we have 29, but I don't think you can start any discussion today without starting uh, with a real sense of what's going on across these cities and how we've got to mobilize if we really care about what we want the United States to be, and how we create the dialogue to make real reform.
Let's continue the dialogue and bring it to soccer on the field. In Major League Soccer over the weekend and the Players Association, some back and forth on a multitude of issues, collective bargaining agreement, this opening tournament in Orlando. The last word that we got at the time of this taping was that Major League Soccer has said, this is our best offer. And if you don't respond by a set time on Tuesday, you will be locked out. You say lockout. What would a lockout do to Major League Soccer right now, Coach?
During a pandemic, it would be a terrible sign of uh, the way we want the game to move forward. It would be terrible in terms of showing how much you care for the players. A league needs players. It needs great players. You've got to make sure that there's real respect for what those players are all about. And so a lockout right now would show disrespect in all those ways, and I don't think it would hurt the game. I don't think it would help the game moving forward.
Bob, we look at this potential season and what it's going to look like. Everybody's under the awareness right now that this is not going to look like any season we have ever seen in the past with Major League Soccer, or perhaps we'll ever see again. How do you balance that as a coach? How do you approach this potential mini tournament in Orlando, and then what the season is going to look like with your players?
Uh, uh, Again, there's different phases. Right now, we are in individual training phase, and as much as it uh, is exciting for players to get out of apartments and get on the grass and put on their football shoes, uh, it's also gotten old. And I'd like to think that the quality of the league continues to go up, and we're in the 25th season. And for me, the quality of games um, has to be there so that it's a sign for all our fans for what's going to happen over the next 25 years. And so uh, we've got to make sure that we can get real training. It's going to be a huge challenge because when you look at even what's been proposed, uh, you go from having guys dribble around poles and do individual work to a little bit of small group training. Eventually, we'll get some team training, but it won't be very much. And so we'll go to Orlando. As always, we'll try to embrace the challenge and in our case, make sure everybody is up for it. But certainly there's challenges during a pandemic. There's families that have many questions about what's going on, how they can take care of things if the husband is away. So there's a lot to it.
Bob, we talked about the micro. Let's talk about the macro now. You talked about the next 25 years. You've seen a lot in terms of not just Major League Soccer, but soccer in the United States. What are some of the things that you think about when it comes to Major League Soccer that you would like to see happen, either on or off the field? Because I know you're a thinker, you're a smart man, and I'm interested in what you see this league becoming on and off the field.
I always start with quality of play. The league will continue to grow when the quality of play gets better and better and better. I think in recent years, one of the great things is we see more and more teams that have real identities. I think we want to have a league where there are teams with different styles, different identities, and that means that we have really exciting games where teams that maybe don't share the exact same idea of football get at it. And I think that's a key. I think that when people go to stadiums, they also want to see players that are exciting and fun to watch, players that they can identify with also. So we've got to continue in the way we develop players in this country to make sure that we are producing players that are going to step on the field in years to come and really be fun to watch. Guys who can carry teams, guys who can handle different roles. And then when I think of all that, I think of how we've got to connect more dots, because still the efforts in this country aren't all on the same page. I've said many times in different interviews, we've got to make everybody feel part of the game in this country. We're not going to succeed if there's a big group of people that feel that they're always on the outside. So that type of work is going to be really important so that we can continue to make sure that opportunities are available to kids from all neighborhoods, that we can find talent from across the country, get it where it needs to be, develop it, and then eventually see it flourish on the field.
Bob, give me one example of how you can connect those dots.
Certainly, youth clubs that develop players need to be included in some form of compensation and solidarity payment. So that's a starting point. You can't have clubs that have players and then they go off to other places and then people are angry that the players were taken. I mean, there's got to be a collective effort to develop players. And that means that when certain clubs focus on maybe 12 to 16 years old, if they do a really good job, and then at 16, the boy goes to an MLS team and then is on the field or signs a professional contract, then I think it's really important that those clubs are included.
Bob, as always, we appreciate your time. I know you've got a lot of work ahead of you, and we love your sentiments. We love and appreciate those sentiments. Bob Bradley, thank you so much. Want to remind you, Bundesliga back in action this week. Bayern Munich, your league leaders. Magic number sits at 9. They're in action Saturday live on FS1. 3 more games coming your way live Sunday on FS1.
For the best soccer content anywhere on the internet, follow Fox Soccer on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.